You've tuned in to Powerhouse on Purpose podcast, your go-to space for inspiration, empowerment, and practical strategies to unlock your potential and step boldly into your purpose. Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Powerhouse on Purpose podcast. We are so excited to have you. I cannot wait for you to share your unique expertise and abilities with us. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristel Tuul, and I help female executives and entrepreneurs to achieve their professional goals in record time while also prioritizing more time for themselves. And yes, and I use my kind of embodied performance methods, which I heavily focus on connecting your mind with your body. And we will kind of uncover a little bit what that means today.
Okay, so you said to connect your mind with your body, which I believe, as women, we can get so busy. We stay in our heads a lot. I remember nights where I would be thinking so much I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, oh, I got to do that. Oh, I got to get that. And so how would you break down that formula of how you can connect all those things?
Well, the first step is to get you out of autopilot and help you connect with your true desires. Because that's if you're just, it's not even that we're stuck in our head. It's more we're oftentimes in autopilot, and we're letting our traumas or limiting beliefs or the same way of doing things lead our life and create a life that we may actually not really want, that doesn't fulfill us, right? So the first step, and I know it's difficult because we have such a busy life. It's so hard to kind of hold the big picture, because you have your 100 emails, and then you have your children, and then work stuff and partner, and so it's easy to get kind of stuck in the everyday life. But that's kind of the first step, which is what I help my clients do, is really help them connect with their entire body. And get a sense through specifically their three brains, because we don't actually only think with our heads. We have our head brain, but we also have our heart and gut brains. And those are some of the key ways you can really start uncovering what are your true desires, and what's kind of maybe stopping you, and how to how to lead with purpose and create the life that you want.
Man, I can't wait to dive in because honestly, where I am right now is exactly what you're describing. I was in a leadership position with the governmental sector, and from all other perspectives, very successful, great salary, and not that it wasn't a fulfilling job. What I was asked to do was very fulfilling. The things that I accomplished, the things that I would do for the community through my personal, position there was very fulfilling, but it didn't fulfill me. And I began to feel like I was having sort of like an out of body experience every day. Like, get up, go to work, and you're doing the work and you're successful at it. And so my mind was finding it hard to marry my dissatisfaction in it, because I'm being successful, I'm doing the work, I'm getting complimented, I'm being told that I'm doing a good job. So it wasn't that I felt like I wasn't achieving anything, but it did nothing to fulfill me with my passions or with my purpose. And I just really wanted to make sure that I was doing what God really called me to do. And so I was effective there in purpose, but not with the job itself. I would connect with coworkers, I would talk to people, I would help people through things, and I often got guests in my office and we would talk about things. And so it was fulfilling on that side, but the job itself did nothing for me. I found myself staying up late every night because I was dreading the wake up to have to go to work. And so I knew things were shifting for me. And so I made the decision to walk away from that position. And it's not easy, I guess, being full-time entrepreneur, and just really deciding to walk away from what looks like success to be able to fulfill what I know could be better for my life. That position took away time. It took away a lot of time. I was in school when I first started that position, doing well, making all A's in every class I took. Once I started that position, I was in it for 2 years. For those 2 years, I could not succeed at a class, and it became very depressing for me. I'm not used to not achieving, especially in education. And so getting a C average in a class was like, this is so unlike me, but I spent a lot of energy trying to stay in something that wasn't meant for me and didn't really help me, like you said, connect mind, heart, and gut. My gut was telling me to leave, and my heart wants me to follow my passions, and my mind is like, you need a job and you need a salary, and you just bought a house, you and your husband have a new home, and you have car notes and bills. And so let's unpack that. So let's talk about those three different brains that you mentioned because I am so intrigued. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So it's actually over 25 years ago, scientists discovered that we don't only think with our heads, and we have the three brains. They have their own like neurons, neurotransmitters, proteins, and cells, and their own kind of decision-making capabilities. And so then the first one, and I will kind of describe the three brains in a way how they show up in decision making. So if you think of like a crisis situation, the first one, like the let's say the ambulance is on the scene, that's our gut brain with over like 500 million cells. And our gut brain is all about survival. That's why it's the first one on the scene. Survival and success. So the achievement you were talking about, that's your gut brain. And its main, or like, for example, our fears actually live in our gut. And the main way our gut communicates with us is through our nervous system. So the different fight, flight, freeze state. These are some of the ways you can kind of feel your gut brain. So that's the first one. And obviously, because our entire body, number one goal is to keep us alive, right? And once we feel like, okay, we're not dying, that's when the heart brain comes up, like especially in a crisis situation. And our heart brain has roughly around 100 million cells, and it's all about empathy, belonging, and connection. So it cares about, okay, like the purpose. What value can I give to others, and how can I connect with other people? And our women are educated to lead with their heart brain, to be caregivers, nurturing. It's a lot to do. One, because we have more oxytocin in our body than men do, which means like it's like easier us to bond. But there's also these cultural and upbringing expectations to be a good girl, be kind to others. And then obviously evolutionarily as well, in like Stone Age time, women survived. They had to get along with others. You have to, because the man went out to hunt, you have to get along with him
Yeah.
or other women
Right.
to get food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's actually creates the dissonance between our current culture that we can get into, but I'll explain the last brain as well, which is our head brain. Our head brain has roughly 100 million cells, and it's the future oriented, like logical thinker. It's great for problem solving. And the kind of main question your head brain asks is, so what's the next step? And what does this mean? And interestingly, the head brain is the only brain that understands time and cause and effect. So that's why I'm so intrigued, and I love the kind of the complexity of human beings. Is that yes, your head like knows, for example, that you don't have to be a good girl anymore. You don't have to be perfect, like a perfect present mother and then a successful career woman. But your head and gut brain, they don't understand time, meaning if the lessons, the beliefs or traumas they learned when you were 6, and if you don't work with them and bring them out and align with your brains, then they will just basically you're playing the same like TV show over and over again and making the same decisions to thrive for perfection. In my case, when I was from high school, I was a workaholic from high school onwards, a good 10 years, mainly because in our culture, we have this saying that you will receive, the more you work, or the harder you work, the more love you will receive. Or that's when love will come. And that's kind of how I was brought up. So I was trying to work really hard to get attention and love from others. That was my like heart brain, and like dominating basically. But no achievement was ever enough. I was highly successful, like in societies wise, like top salesperson, had a tech startup in the top 3 accelerators in the world and all those things. But it all felt like empty in a way, because no one else can give you the love. That it has to come from inside of you. You have to start loving yourself. And that was one of the big lessons I learned that helped me actually kind of get out of this autopilot thinking of leading only with my heart, brain, and really like doing a disservice to my body, because I was, I burned out twice, the workaholic life. It wasn't gentle on my lifestyle.
So you talked about how we're taught to kind of lead from the nurturing side of us, from the heart, and really see things from that heart brain. Something that I would say is probably prominent amongst us is self-sabotage. When we can't marry these different things together, when we can't connect that mind, body, and gut. And so, how have you seen self sabotage be a real issue amongst us as far as trying to be that entrepreneur, trying to be that mom, trying to be that perfected person?
Yeah. Well, a great example is when I first said that we as women have been educated to lead with our heart brain, to be the caregiver, nurturing, like kind, calm. But our men actually have been educated to lead with their gut brain, which means being like achievement, competition. That's kind of the hustle culture. And so obviously women can exceptionally well lead with their gut brain, and especially if you're a leader, a female leader, then you are also using the wisdom of your gut brain. But that's where the kind of the sabotage or the imbalance and the conflict can happen. So on one side, you want to be this successful, high achieving woman. On the other side, you're also trying to subconsciously meet the expectations of your society, right? To basically also listen to your heart brain, to be a present mother, and every, like in my first year, because my daughter is 1, I kind of felt like I'm not a natural mother. I felt there's something wrong with me, because all I see on social media, these moms are like, it's just like kind of effortless. They're like, yeah, like my daughter was born 2 months ago, and then now they're like going on events, and then it seems like so easy, like they just they can handle this new life so effortlessly, and I was so struggling. I'm like, just changing diapers, it just emotionally, it was so draining, just and kind of getting used to it. It took me a whole year, and then trying to balance it with, okay, like I still have entrepreneurial aspirations and I love what I do. How do I balance it all? And that's kind of like and then obviously the head brain is the rational one, trying to make sense. Okay, what decisions should I make? How can I prioritize myself, me as a mother and my baby, but also my business? So that's one way we can kind of subconsciously and unconsciously sabotage ourselves. And it comes down to really one of the things is if you have limiting beliefs. And I gave you a great example. Like if you believe like I have to work hard, then I will be like extremely hard, then I will be successful.
Yeah.
And what can happen is you start only focusing on, it has to, like success has to come from a very hard place. If it comes easy, there's something wrong, right? So
Yeah.
that can be like one way. And obviously trauma, if you've been a great example is when your heart brain is leading when like let's say your parents broke up when you were little and you're just trying to belong somewhere. And so you can, like I had one when I was helping a tech startup, and it was before my coaching time. I was doing marketing and I so wanted to belong and like prove my value and worth that I was just so invested, like working overtime. Like I was just overcompensating, trying to like kind of get the feedback of like, okay, I belong here, like you want me, because I really wanted this. And so that can be one way where your like heart brain kind of takes over and sabotages your success. And then there's also this conflict, which is very very common, because there's oftentimes no one right way to do something. There can be different decisions. So like your there's different, I bet you felt this, that your head says one way, like you mentioned that you need a job, like you need money, but maybe your heart says become an entrepreneur, like that's what you really want to do. And then your head is like, that's super risky, like what's the, it's not logical, right? So you have this
Yeah.
conflict, like no one way is like is correct or incorrect. It just depends on the context of where you are in your life. So that can be another way that you can sabotage yourself.
That is eye-opening. I wouldn't call myself a self-sabotager, or I wouldn't have, but I definitely look at it now that I'm outside of the situation. When I look, I definitely thwarted several opportunities of success because I felt like I didn't earn it. Things came
Mm.
like I felt like I was in the position I was in without a 4-year college degree, something that most, especially in this climate with a job, don't achieve. But not only that, I'm wanting to walk away from it. And so then there's this, I owe it to this job to give it all that I've got because on paper, I shouldn't even be here, you know? And so that imposter syndrome began to set in. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't leaving this job as a position of self sabotage. I was like, why do you want to walk away? And I mulled it over. I began thinking about it in March of last year, and I didn't leave till October, but I had mentioned it to my husband. I kind of let him know where I was, and we decided to buy the home knowing that my desire and what I truly believe that God was leading me to do and guiding me into was full-time entrepreneurship. And we haven't missed a beat since I left my job financially, and I'm grateful. But I also think that now I want to make sure these things don't enter my entrepreneurship journey. Because so now I started out doing whipped shea butters. Post
Mm.
COVID, my skin just hasn't been good. I've had a lot of dryness that I didn't have before I took the first round of COVID shot. And I do regret it, absolutely, because I have eczema now. It's what they
Mm.
diagnosed me with. And it's extreme on my feet, and I get blotches on my face. And so I couldn't find anything that was helping. And so I was like, I'm going to try shea butter. I started whipping it myself, and then I started selling it. And so now it's a full scale business, and I'm adding new products. I also published my first book since I've been out of that position, and I decided to go full scale with a publishing company. And so what I'm focusing on is Christian authors and allowing them the ability to have the advantage that some of us don't have because we're not fully in author mode. We have jobs and we're doing things, but we do have stories that we want to get out into the world. So we have books inside of us that we don't have the knowledge or the know-how to complete that process. So I opened it up and became a publishing company. But the last thing, or I would say an additional thing, because I can't say last, I don't know what I'll do next, but it's the podcast. And so I started the podcast back in 2020 during COVID season. But that job that I took, that position I took, I hadn't done a podcast since I started that position as well. And so now that I'm getting back into these endeavors, I want to make sure that I don't have that same mindset about entrepreneurship. It has to be hard. I have to fight my way. Right now, sales have been good with Pamper on Purpose, which is the skincare line. And the podcast has been great. I've done 7 interviews so far. And I honestly am just elated with everybody who showed interest. We had about 40 people sign up to be on the podcast. And so I'm already having to have that mindset of like not giving it the side eye, like this is too easy. But hopefully embracing success without having the hard work, knowing that I've done enough work to be worthy of the interviews, to be worthy of the guests who would like to be here. So tell me a little bit about leading from purpose, because what I think I'm doing is that I lead with purpose. My businesses are Powerhouse Publishing, my podcast is Powerhouse on Purpose, and my skincare line is Pamper on Purpose. And so I really focus on things being purposeful and not just keeping me busy.
Yes, and I'm the same way. So this is actually being a coach is actually my 5th business, mainly because I lead with purpose, and then I feel like, okay, now it's time to move on. I trust that intuition, and then I move on, right? I don't, and I'm not scared of it because I just can't do things just for the money, or it's just, yeah, I'm not built that way. But and I actually started leading with purpose very early on. My first like real business was I did door-to-door sales in the US and Canada for 6 years, like working 13-hour days, 6 days a week, 100% commission, just knocking on doors. I sold educational books to families with children. And so I was 18 or 19 when I started. So early on, I was able to talk to families about education and life. And that really opened my eyes. I went to different 6, 7, 8, close to 10 states that I sold in. I kind of got a very like variety of people that I spoke to, and kind of saw the decisions they made, which made me kind of decide to always live in alignment with my values. I think that's one key part of living with purpose, is really knowing your top 3 or 5 values and like creating a life that is aligned in alignment with that. And then the other part now is kind of the value you offer to the world. And it was during COVID time that I really felt like, okay, I am in such a great place in my life. I've worked on myself and my limiting beliefs for over 10 years that I'm really ready to hold space for other women. And I really wanted to work with women specifically because I've kind of gone through the struggles of being a highly ambitious, successful woman in a male-dominated world or environment. And I've seen one of the examples being like I kind of ruined my health because I had no idea how our menstrual cycle affects our energy, and like you shouldn't have the same like health protocols that men do.
Yeah.
So that was a huge eye opener. And I always think, sometimes I ask myself, if I had like millions of dollars, would I still be doing what I'm doing now? And the answer is yes. Always. I feel like it's bigger than me to really empower women to become the best versions of themselves, like to achieve the success and whatever goals you have, and you can get them in much easier, like in record time. But also prioritize yourself and your personal life, that you don't have to choose either or. And a great example how I kind of embody it is through social media. So when I started, obviously, having a personal brand wasn't new to me. So like talking on video or doing Instagram like stories was very uncomfortable. But then I was like, it's not about me. Like what I'm doing is bigger than me, bigger than my fears. So then I'm like, yep, I have to go through those fears and post whatever I have, because I feel like I have to do it in a way. Not that it's just, yeah, this purpose is so big. So that's how I would describe leading with purpose. So values, living in alignment with your values, because I feel like there's different ways you can provide value to the world, but in order not to lose yourself and give from a full cup is live in alignment with your values. And then the other part is obviously discovering your like professional, or it can be also personal, like how you purpose, for example, being a mother.
Yes, I think self-sabotage is the other end of trying to create that life where you lead with purpose. And so for me, the self-sabotage was really me denying purpose, honestly. I was at a family event recently and one of my cousins came up to me and she said, I just want to tell you, like, you're such a classy woman. And she's like, this aura that you give, it's just, she's like, and I've always felt that way about you. We have sons that are the same age that played sports on the same teams. And so she's like, even when I would see you at school programs and different things, she's like, I've always felt that way. And I was honest with her. I told her that's why you guys didn't see me a whole lot. For years, I didn't go to a lot of family functions. I didn't really just go to anything. I didn't go to clubs because I knew I carried something, but it wasn't always received well. I think because other women didn't know what they were looking at, it made them apprehensive. And sometimes they could be mean, sometimes they could be off putting, but sometimes they would isolate me. And so we could be at events and nobody's saying anything to me. And so I think it's because of that, whatever I carry, that aura. And so I was so grateful to have someone see it and commend me on it. But also, I was reminded that I've come a long way from where I used to be. Just even allowing people to see it. And what I had to accept is that it wasn't people weren't coming to me, I was isolating myself. I would find the corner in the back where nobody could see me. And I may dance and, enjoy myself, but I would try to seclude to just one little area, kind of keep to myself. And I became a recluse over the years. And so even with that, as you were talking about leading with purpose, I had sort of like a little moment of walking through my timeline to know that I am living in purpose. I am leading with purpose. And honestly, I believe that that is my purpose, is to allow women the space and a platform to say, you know what, I can prioritize myself. I can decide to sit within, decide what my purpose really is, and then I can live in it and I can lead with it. And so it makes me understand now that that's really what I am purposed to do. And so give us just a little bit of tips, a few tips about how to achieve success with prioritizing ourselves. I know sometimes for women, we don't know how to do both. We struggle to see a world where we can prioritize and be fully mother and be fully wife and be a good employee or be successful as an entrepreneur or run your own business. And so tell us how being a boss shouldn't negate living and leading with purpose.
Well, one of the things I help my clients with is, and saying I have is, your nervous system state defines your results, because it's how our literally how our biology works. Is if you are like, first, if you're like anxious and fearful, first you feel it in your body and you feel that emotion, and then that emotion creates thoughts and feelings in your head, and that's when you make decisions and take action and get the results. So one simple way is really focusing on your nervous system state, finding exercises that work for you. I have a protocol I use to help women figure out, what nervous system regulation exercises work for them, so they can kind of make stress their strength and become more resilient. Whenever like something challenging comes up, they can find their like center faster and align their three brains to make a conscious decision and not go into autopilot. Because when your nervous system is regulated, that's when the next step is really to get out of autopilot and connect with your true desires, right? And a quick tip would be to go on a hike or walk in nature. That can really like calm you, and you kind of like let your mind wander and see what comes up. If you do want to connect with your three brains, and a simple exercise just for you to understand what it feels like is to say, let's say your first name, and you put your two fingers like first on your like forehead, and you say your name out loud, like my name is Kristel, and then you kind of feel what do you sense. And then you do the same thing with your heart and gut. And then you say a completely different name, like my name is Robert, even. And then you again do it with all your three brains. And I always get very different reactions. And that's you can kind of get a sense of how your three different brains react and, in a way, talk to you.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm absolutely going to try that.
Mhm.
I love techniques. Like I said, I can be very organized and strategic. And so I'm definitely going to try that process, and I'm going to let you know how it goes. But it has been a absolute pleasure having you today. You shared so many gems. You've dropped so many nuggets. So tell us like where you are, how we can find you, find your services, and whether you're local or virtual, just give us that information.
Yes, you can find me based on my first and last name. So kristeltuul.com, that's my website. It's also my Instagram handle and LinkedIn handle. So I'm active on those social media platforms. And I live in Estonia, so I do coach women all over the world virtually, or if you want to come here. And yeah, just reach out if you have any questions, and I'm happy to support you any way I can.
Okay, Crystal Tuul, thank you so much for your enlightening episode today. I have just enjoyed you, and I can't wait to see how women are supported with what you've shared today. And I can't wait for others to try your three brain process. I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. My name is Kristel Tuul, and I'm a powerhouse.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to receive future notifications and to stay plugged in to the Powerhouse.